Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast channel. Ari and James with you, and we welcome in Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 connoisseur, Big 12 storyteller. Chancellor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, fellas?
Man, we're good. Fresh off a full weekend of basketball, and you're a Houston guy, and I've got to hear more about Mercy Miller. So, Master P, yes, Master P, that Master P, the famous rapper, Percy Miller, is an assistant coach for New Orleans for their men's basketball team. They played Houston over the weekend. Master P's son, Mercy Miller, plays for Houston, and he's having a monster sophomore year, had a big game against New Orleans. But what can you add to this pop culture phenom and this story down in Houston?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun game over the weekend as Houston took on New Orleans at home. And you can say Mercy Miller off the bench made New Orleans say, right? He had 15 points for the Houston Cougars, went perfect from the field. And so, here's a guy who is a sophomore and, talented kid, right? Really skilled offensive game. But last year, as a freshman, he played in spurts, but had to learn and grow under this Houston Cougar and Kelvin Sampson program. And so this year, still behind some really great guards like Milos Uzan, under Kingston Flemings, a breakout freshman there, Emmanuel Sharp. And he stayed with the force, and he's turned into one of the breakout players for this Houston Cougars team and a key piece off their bench. But it was really awesome to see Master P come down with his team, who's had some wins so far in the season. They went out and they beat TCU to open up the year, and they came in and took on the Houston Cougars. But Mercy Miller, the son, got the better of father there. But it was awesome to see it there, and continued growth from the young Houston sophomore Mercy Miller.
When did Master P get into coaching basketball?
Many people, if you've been following Master P, he played some ball himself, right? And so he played it at a very high level. And so this is just recently he took over as the GM of New Orleans. And so, of course, the relationship he has with Kelvin Sampson, they were able to get together and schedule that, on the schedule there. And so, as I mentioned earlier, for them to come into Houston and it was a blowout game for the Houston Cougars, but really cool to see that moment, especially after the game. There was one moment where Mercy kneeled down and shot one of his 5 on the day and pointed at his dad, and his dad on the bench got a good laugh. Meanwhile, Houston's up by 25, but it was a really cool father-son moment for the two there.
Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 content creator, Big 12 connoisseur, joins us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo, also on Big 12 Studios. Meanwhile, Arizona continues to pile up some historic non-conference wins over the weekend. It's not the Cam Newton Classic, it's the CM Newton Classic. Arizona takes down Alabama 96-75. Outscored Alabama 57-34 in the second half. They were actually down by 2 at halftime. But what are your thoughts on the Wildcats and their start?
Man, just the Arizona Wildcats look like the best team in the country to me. They certainly have, obviously, the best resume. You start off with Florida, then Auburn, then UConn, UCLA, and then now Alabama. And what was interesting to me was the breakout of Braden Burries. Cole Pete was kind of the main attraction, at least for the freshmen of this Arizona Wildcat class. And here comes the guard who was highly touted, a guy who's regarded as a natural scorer and a better scorer than Cole Pete. Pete a little bit more versatile in a neutral site game. I mean, he came out and was bearing upwards of 5 or 6 threes on the day. On a team with Jaden Bradley and the bigs that Arizona has on their team, for him to have 28 points. The thing about Arizona is they can just beat you in so many different ways. They rebound the basketball. They have, as I mentioned, some really great guard play from Jaden Bradley to now Braden Burries since he's breaking out, and then of course Cole Pete. And so right now, they're the team to be in the Big 12. The past couple of years, it has been Houston. But as this team, as the Cougars still look to grow, and they have some, their young players they're still trying to bring and come along. They've been winning games. But so far, even with an Iowa State team, and we can talk about them as well, I think Arizona is not just the team to beat in the Big 12. They're the team to beat in college basketball. And just to kind of draw a parallel, they kind of remind me of Texas A&M in a way, and how we see them in football, where over the past few years, Texas A&M in football, if obviously you know anything about them, they're a team that has a lot of expectation, and their fan base expects them to do great things. Just haven't been able to do it. But this year feels a little bit different, right? This year, A&M had a great run. So far, Arizona's having a great run in basketball, and maybe this is a year that Arizona Wildcat fans have finally been waiting for it, and for them to potentially get back to the Final Four.
Yeah, and I mean, Chancellor, the way I see it right now with how good the Big 12 is at the top end, like I think the Big 12 will have at least 2 Final Four teams.
It's hard to argue against that, especially right now, because I think Arizona, Iowa State, Houston, and even BYU are all 4 teams that can legitimately get there. Then you add in Kansas, who had that massive win over North Carolina State, even without Darren Peterson down the stretch there. And as a team, they've been finding ways to win without Darren Peterson, and we need him healthy because Peterson is a phenomenal talent. But yeah, like the Big 12 is super super deep. Excuse me. We haven't even talked about Texas Tech, who has the Big 12 Player of the Year, and they had a tough loss the other night. But they're another team that if they can kind of get things right and finish out how to close games, they're a team that is a team that can make some noise, in a deep run in March. So. The top of the Big 12 is really special, and even in the middle of the pack with Arizona State starting to pick up some wins.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State they dropped one over to Oklahoma over the weekend, but the middle of the pack is holding their own. And Kelvin Sampson had talked about how that's really what kind of helps feed the Big 12 is the teams in the middle that are doing things in the non-conference play that just shows you how deep of a conference the Big 12 is.
Yeah, I look at like Oklahoma State, even though they lost over the weekend. I mean, TCU has some quality wins. UCF is 8-1 with wins over power conference opponents. Colorado's 9-1. Kansas State goes on the road and beats Creighton over the weekend.
Yep.
I think that the national media is sleeping on the depth of the Big 12 outside of those top 5 or 6 teams.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And we haven't even mentioned Baylor, right? Baylor's had a good season so far, too. And I don't think anybody expected Colorado or Oklahoma State to start off the year 9-1. Arizona State was picked to be dead last in the conference. And so far, they've had picked up some good wins, on neutral floors. As we just saw over the weekend with the comeback victory over Santa Clara. How fun was that one? And so, it's funny because I look at, like I said, Texas Tech, and they're like the 7th best team in the conference right now. This is a team that I think has the ceiling of at least an Elite 8 team. And so, as you just mentioned, right, the depth of this Big 12 is certainly phenomenal, and so is the talent within it as a conference.
Talking with Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 connoisseur, Big 12 storyteller. Chancellor, tell us about what you've been working on as of late here in the conference and trying to highlight some of these key athletes all across all the sports and coaches. I know you do a lot of great work on social and behind the scenes, so what have you been up to?
Yeah, man, I'm just really, as I was brought in to tell the stories of the conference, that's really what I've been trying to do, is trying to find the unique stories, right? Because I know, of course, over the course of this season, we'll have an opportunity to talk more about Arizona, and I'm have something on my sleeve for them on some content. But right now, some of the teams that aren't highlighted as much, like a Oklahoma State, like a Colorado, as I mentioned, who are off to a 9-1 start. Been doing some interviews with players and coaches, and you can check that out on my Twitter at Chancellor TV. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram as well too. But I'm working on some freshman files. As we all know, the Big 12 has so many talented first year players, and so I have some projects coming up soon. As I mentioned, the freshman files will be really fun. I think fans will get to enjoy. But the Big 12 makes my job easy, right? Because they're so good. I don't have to over exaggerate or over explain too much. My job is just to shine some spotlight on it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Look forward to that. Chancellor Johnson joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Appreciate your time. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for the time.
Chancellor Johnson, Big 12 content creator, Big 12 storyteller, joins us here on Big 12 today. So that Master P story, Master P he was attending a lot of Houston basketball games, and then he gets this coaching job at New Orleans. His son, Mercy Miller, here's what he said, Taman Clip 6, about playing against his dad, Master P, this weekend.
This was a very, a game that hit close to home for me. A lot of my family was here, my mom, my grandpa here, so just being able to see family, it definitely gives you another burst of energy. But I'm just trying to just keep building and just keep stacking good days. So being able to do different things on the court. Just trying to just improve every day. So that's what I was looking forward to doing. And talking to my dad, we didn't talk much about it before, but I told him a couple of things. We was trash talking a little bit, but we just kept it just cordial and about family. And then we got out here, we competed.
Make him say, na na na. Are you a Master P connoisseur?
Huge Master P fan.
You don't know any songs, do you?
Massive. I know at least two. At least two.
You know that one?
Okay. Oh yeah, that's the classic, 1997. Houston, by the way, is number 8.
It's an anthem for our time.
It really is. It really is. Houston's number 8 in KenPom. They're 10-1. They have a defensive rating that's 5th in the country. They're 29th offensively, but like I watch them, and they're going to be fine on offense with Kingston Flemings and Chris Sinak and JoJo Tugler's getting better offensively. And then they still have Uzan, who's not shooting the ball well, and Emmanuel Sharp is a guy that can absolutely take over a game.
Yeah, it should scare the rest of the league that Houston's not the best team in the league right now.
Yeah.
Because there's the potential for Houston to be that good. And again, I'll continue to say it. Like what I've seen, the Big 12 is going to have at least 2 Final Four teams because there's so much depth at the top of this conference. And, I mean, we could dig into the numbers, and I'm sure we will, but overall, the top of this conference is absolutely dominating the field. So, as good as the SEC was last year, I think there's going to be a perception the SEC is that good this year, and the Big 12 is that dude this year.
Yeah. The Big 12, that's a great comp. The Big 12 is this year what the SEC was last year. Could have multiple teams in the Final Four. Could have 4 teams in the Final Four. 4 of the top 9 teams in KenPom.
By the way, you kept referring to Chancellor Johnson as a connoisseur of the Big 12, which means a person with expert knowledge and refined tastes capable of making critical judgments in a specific field, especially fine arts, food, wine, or other complex subjects like the Big 12, appreciating subtleties others may miss through deep study and experience. I can assure you, both you and or I have never been connoisseurs of anything based on that definition.
I think he should put that definition in addition to his Big 12 connoisseur bio line on Twitter, on X, just the whole definition.
Appreciating subtleties others might miss through deep study and experience.
That's what he is to the Big 12 and to us, definitely. All right, more Big 12 basketball, a weekend recap coming up next. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo.
Make him say, oh!
Tune in Big 12 Studios. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westeling.
Are you a no-limit soldier or not?
I'm an all-limit soldier. That's what I am.
I have limits. Lots of limits.
All limits.
Look at me find limits.
All day. If there's a limit to be found, I will find it.
That does perfectly describe you.
Rapid fire. How many Master P songs can you name? Go.
No limit soldier.
Okay.
Make him say
Okay.
Make him say part 2.
There's a part 2?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Kidding? I think there's a part 3.
Okay.
Something
bad.
about toy soldiers or something.
Not bad. I think you got it.
But
there's a lot here.
I mean, when I think of like my childhood hip hop, Master P is very much in that circle.
Mm-hmm.
I am and continue to be a no limit soldier. Apparently you're not.
You are. I'm an all-limit soldier.
Yeah.
You're no-limit soldier?
All about the limits.
It's just amazing. Like Master P, I Miss My Homies, Stop Hatin', Freak Hose, one of my favorites, Wobble Wobble. And then you see him on the bench with his quarter zip and his clipboard, and he's coaching this New Orleans basketball team. And you're like, oh, it's a little Master P. Looking very different than the Master P that we remember.
By the way, did you say, I guess, yeah, he was part of the 504 Boys. That's probably what he's most known for, because 504 Boys, they brought the noise.
They brought the noise,
Yeah.
says Ari Timken. The 504 Boys brought the noise. Kansas over the weekend, Melvin Council Jr., he brought the noise. Man, he was unstoppable. And Kansas gets this overtime win against NC State. True road environment, 77-76. We talked Friday about how this was a sneaky game. I broke down the Ken Palm luck rating and how NC State, essentially, long story short, they were much better than their record would indicate going into this game. Former Texas Tech standout Darian Williams was a huge part of NC State and what they've done so far this year. But Kansas goes on the road. They get the overtime win, and Council goes off for a career-high 36 points. But that's not the biggest story from the game.
Yeah, Darren Peterson was hobbled at some point in the second half of this game and left, did not return, I believe, for the better part of the second half, and then, of course, overtime. He did score, I believe, 16 points. So he was effective in this game scoring for Kansas, but when he left, Melvin Council took over, and this team is familiar with playing without him. And there's all this talk now about shutting him down until at least, conference play starts. And, I can see this continuing to be a ongoing topic. Earlier in the season when this thing was getting rolling and he was going to miss some time due to this hamstring issue, I kind of ranted and raved a little bit about Darren Peterson, and Taman Turner, our producer, was like, oh, it's so early, calm down. Like, this is going to continue to be a major subplot to the season. And I think if you're Kansas, you have to take control at some point. And as good of a talent as he is, it's at some point you need to know which guys are available for your team and have your team ready to play. And I just don't know that I'm going to keep playing this game with Darren Peterson. Like, shut him down for the season is what I'm saying. Because, yeah, he helps your team be better overall, but I just can't have this hanging over my team all season long. Like, you're either in or you're out. And there's been a ton of Kyrie Irving comparisons, and if people have heard, like, I'm not a huge Kyrie Irving fan, but at least, Kyrie Irving wasn't making $3 million to play at Duke. At least we don't know that publicly. We don't know what kind of money under the table Kyrie Irving was being played his year at Duke that he sat out because of the toe injury. But, at best, we know that he wasn't making any money, at least not through NIL, and now Darren Peterson's making at least $3 million. So this looks like a bad investment for Kansas, a guy that's clearly not as invested into Kansas basketball as you'd like those guys to be that are making that kind of money. And I think you've got to go now with the team that is invested in Kansas basketball.
My Kyrie Irving moment before we hear from Bill Self was the season opener. That 1 year that he played at Duke, they played Kansas State at the Sprint Center, which is now the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. And K-State was like preseason top 5 with Jacob Poland. They were fresh off an Elite 8 team, Elite 8 run. And Kyrie Irving ran circles around Jacob Poland in that game, just balled out. And Duke ran away from Kansas State in the second half, and it was never even really close. Like, they won by double figures. I was like, this dude is a baller.
We've heard a lot from Kelvin Sampson about the types of players he recruits. he wouldn't have recruited Darren Peterson. As good as he is, and Kelvin Sampson gets big-time players to go and play at Houston, but he would not have recruited Darren Peterson. I think you're recruiting not just the player, but the family. And look, this guy, I'm sure, will end up becoming a great NBA player. Certainly, I've heard a lot about that, but he's just not bought into Kansas, and his family's not bought into Kansas the way they probably need to be at $3 million for this season, wherever they're paying him. So, fine, cool, awesome, bad investment by Kansas. Move along. I can't have it hanging over my team all season long. That's going to do more detriment to the team and the psyche of the team over the course of the season and into the tournament than it would to just say, shut it down, move on with your life, and let's go.
This is the team that we have.
This is the team we have.
Here's what Bill Self said why Darren Peterson was taken out of the game on Saturday against NC State.
I think he was getting tight. I haven't talked to the doctor yet or the trainer about it, but he said he needed to come out. So he's experienced this every game that we played. So I was happy that he got that far, that deep into the game. But because it's happened to start the second half every other game. But I think it's just tightness, but I haven't even found out yet.
He's experienced this in every game we've played. I mean, how much are we going to kind of dance around this thing? Right? He's not bought in. And whether it's he or his family, whatever. He's got a long career to account for. Great. Glad he got $3 million to play at Kansas this year. Good job, good effort. Thanks.
He played 31 minutes, took himself out of the game, had 17 points. Now, the guy that...
this is the standard we have now. This is the standard of... And the fact that it's completely okay in the media at large. Oh yeah, he's got a long career to think about. Yeah. Every game he's been dealing with this.
Yeah. Now, Melvin Council Jr. had a career-high 36 points. This is a guy that didn't make a three 4 games into the season. He goes 9 for 15 against NC State, 36 points, and here's what Bill Self said about his effort.
We had one guy that was probably the best performer that I think that I've had on the road in my 23 years at Kansas. He was unbelievable and made hard shots. They dared him to shoot, and then when he made a couple, he started looking at a big basket, and then he was unbelievable. Got downhill play. But if you look at his entire line, 9 threes, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers, played 43 minutes. Pretty good stat line. So I'm really happy for Mel. I'm happy for our team, but especially happy for him because he put us on his back tonight.
Yeah, he exploded in that game. Completely took over. Scored the final 13 points for Kansas in regulation.
Yeah, and the issue was that he missed the front end of 2 1-on-1s down the stretch of this that left the door open for NC State. NC State basically had 3 opportunities to take the lead and did not, including a 3 at the end of regulation by Darion Williams, who to that point was hitting nearly everything that he took. And remember, Darion Williams not only played at Texas Tech last year, but Kansas was in heavy pursuit of Darion Williams.
Yeah.
Probably weren't able to get him from a monetary standpoint because they earmarked $3 million to pay for Darren Peterson, but I digress. You're not going to pay $6 million for your roster, whatever it would have been, $5 million for 2 guys. But yeah, Council went off, but it's funny because he hit a 3. He went 9 for 15 from 3, which is an insane number for a guy, to your point, that was not thought to be a high-volume three-point shooter. And then he did the kind of Kansas front of my jersey thing, which was great, and then proceeded to miss the front end of 2 1-on-1s back-to-back that kept the door open for NC State and made it a 1-point game, and Kansas's defense was able to hang on and win that game. Kansas is 59th in Ken Palm defense, and they're, I believe, 59th in Ken Palm offense,
Okay, offense.
and 9th in Ken Palm defense. So their defense is their calling card right now.
Yeah, they've been really good on that end. Arizona moves to 9-0. They stomp Alabama 96-75. Alabama actually had a lead at halftime, and then Arizona made 10 threes in this game, outscored Alabama by 23 points in the second half. And again, this is a neutral game, air quotes, but it was in the state of Alabama. I think they played this one in Birmingham, and Braden Burries goes off. He's another highly touted freshman. 28 points, 5 for 10 from 3, a career high. Also had 7 rebounds.
Well, and some of these lines with Arizona, you're beginning to see a trend here in terms of the bully ball that we're talking about with Arizona. I mean, this team is so dominant right now. They are plus 20 on the boards and 22-3 from an offensive glass perspective. So Arizona got multiple cracks every possession, and that's, I think, what really carried them in the second half. But, look, I mean, Alabama's a team that's just not used to seeing teams not shoot threes and dunks, right? So, I mean, this was hard for them to keep their head above water, and, who knows if it maintains for the entire season, because Arizona's doing something historically right now. I mean, 5 wins of their 9 have been against AP top 25 teams. That's the first time ever that's happened. 5 of their first 9 wins have been against AP top 25 teams. Like, they're a dominant force, and it's because of what they do on the defense, what they do in the interior. Like, this is not, they have a cold shooting night and forget about it. Like, a lot of these teams are going to be, like, a lot of these teams in college basketball have a high level of variance. If they don't shoot, they could have a game like Alabama shot against BYU in the tournament where they just go like 70% from 3, ridiculous. Or you go the opposite way, which is you can't shoot, you're off, and things go cold. Arizona's like the antidote to that. They are the antidote to the modern game of threes and layups and dunks. This was an incredible performance by Arizona and a season so far of incredible performances.
Yeah, there was a point in this game. Arizona had 20 second chance points, and Alabama had just 2.
And this is where I go to, like, James, I've been saying this whole show, like, this weekend showed me the Big 12 is going to have at least 2 Final Four teams because, like, we talked about Kansas, and I'm not even putting them in that conversation right now. But Arizona and Iowa State and BYU and Houston, like, we haven't even seen close to the best of what Houston can be.
Right. And they're still ahead of schedule from where they were this time last year when they went 0-3 at the Players era. Thing about Arizona, like, Tommy Lloyd has built an NBA roster. They look like an NBA team, and they have a handful of guys that'll have a chance to play in the NBA. I'm not saying that they have 8 or 9 pros. I'm saying the physicality, what these guys look like. Jaden Bradley is a man. He is built like a running back who can get 5 or 6 yards per carry between the tackles at point guard. Koa Pete is a dude who's NBA ready right now. Braden Burries is another guy that has an NBA body. Del Orso is a 6'7" wing player who handles the ball like a point guard. They're so underrated in their connectivity, the way they share the basketball. They kind of probe around the foul line, and then these little pocket passes that lead to easy 2-point baskets or kick-out threes, and they just manhandle teams with their physicality. I think right now they are the most physical team in the conference, the most physical team in America, and they look like a team that can win a national championship.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this wasn't the greatest weekend overall for the Big 12. I mean, you had Mississippi State over Utah in Salt Lake City. You had Ohio State beating West Virginia in 2 overtimes. You had Oklahoma over Oklahoma State. Arkansas knocked off Texas Tech. But even with the losses there, James, when you look at this thing, so the Big 12 is right now 15-6 against the SEC, 13-7 against the ACC. The Big 10, 8-7. And the Big East, 7-6. If you combine their winning percentage against the Power 5, it would be 63% winning percentage. And overall, the Big 12's overall non-conference winning percentage, 130-34. They're at 79% winning percentage overall. But when you dig into the top teams of the Big 12 right now, you look at the record that Houston, Arizona, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas, and Texas Tech, the top 6 have against the other Power 5, it's even better. They're at a 69% winning percentage, 24-11, 9-4 against the SEC, 7-3 against the ACC, 4-2 against the Big East, 4-2 against the Big 10. So again, Big 12 is going to have at least 2 Final Four teams because their winning percentage at the top is so much larger than anybody else, and again, even larger than the Big 12 as a whole. So yeah, the Big 12's record overall looks really good against the Power 4. Your Power 5, but looks even better when you zero in on the top of the conference.
Mm-hmm. Those teams at the top have been dominant, and just to highlight some of the teams in the middle, I mean, you look at Colorado, UCF, and Oklahoma State. Those 3 programs have a combined record of 26-3 in the non-conference. In Kansas State, we are so back. We are so back. Go on the road, beat Creighton, a Big East team.
Good win.
In their own arena. David Castillo had a breakout game with 19 points. He might be K-State's best player. But it was a solid win. Gave me some hope for Kansas State in their season.
So happy somebody watched the Kansas State game. Way to go. Arizona's the first team ever, as we mentioned, to win, have 5 of their first 9 wins be AP top 25 opponents. Iowa State is higher than Arizona in the net rating right now at number 4. And then BYU's 8-1, has an RPI of number 2 and a strength of schedule at number 2. That's not a typo.
It's not a typo.
2 in the strength of schedule.
I watch Kansas State because I'm a full-time fan.
Yeah, that's right.
A full-time fan.
That watches Kansas State.
Full-time fans watch K-State and Big 12 basketball.
Yeah.
Arizona State also had a wild one. They won at Santa Clara, sneaky spot there. Remember, like a lot of these teams are going into finals week or coming off finals week. This was a really sleepy weekend for the Big 12 and for everybody across the country where a lot of upsets happen, and the Big 12 survived against some of these lesser foes. Fireworks in that game with head coach Bobby Hurley and his second-half antics. More on that coming up later in the program. But coming up next, we sit down with Ross Dellinger, the senior writer for Yahoo Sports. A lot to unpack in college football. Ross joins us next. He's Ari. I'm James. This is Big 12 Today. Back inside Big 12 today, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios with R.A. Timken. I'm James Westling, and we welcome in Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports. Hey, Ross, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Man, we're good, but we need you to explain like we're five. This Big 12 deal with Redbird and Weatherford Capital for a cash infusion as much as $500 million to schools. Break this down so that we can better understand how this is good for the league and what this means as college football and college athletics continues to kind of enter into this new era and this new world.
Yeah, it's kind of been the trendy thing over the last year and a half is private equity or private capital schools, individual schools or conferences themselves going down the road exploring this. And lo and behold, the Big 12, but a Big 12 school became the first school to do an individual deal when Utah struck a deal a week ago for a private equity deal. And then the Big 12 was pretty far down the line on, as you mentioned, this private capital deal. So I'll explain the deal. It's kind of three sort of buckets to this deal. The first one is that the league office, the Big 12 office, will get an infusion of capital, millions of dollars to create businesses, sort of reinvest in revenue generating businesses, sort of more. We heard about the Big Ten Enterprises thing when the Big Ten was sort of going down the road on their deal. This is sort of similar in a way that they're going to create this sort of business arm of the Big 12. So that's one bucket. The second thing is just this business sort of long-term partnership with Redbird and Weatherford, the capital providers, the firms, and just partnering with them to do things like, again, generating more revenue for the league in different ways. And then the third thing is probably the more important bucket for a lot of the schools, which is they have access if they want. So they don't have to do it. If they want, they have access to $30 million each school to a capital infusion. Obviously, that money would have to be paid back, plus some. I think a 9.9% is the rate. So they'd have to pay that back years to come. But they don't have to do it. So it needs all of this to get approved needs a simple majority. So it needs 9 of the 16 schools to approve it. And, they took another step last week in finalizing this and actually bringing it to a vote by moving from sort of a short term sheet to longer form documents being drafted. So it's just another step toward making this potentially happen.
Yeah, I'm curious, Ross. I think you guys, Andy Staples and yourself and Stephen Godfrey, do a fantastic job on the College Football Inquirer podcast. And listening to the one from this weekend that kind of covered this, I know Godfrey didn't think it was a great idea long term for this conference, to have that investment. I'm just curious for kind of your thoughts if this does go through as is and there's a infusion from a capital perspective. Do you think that borrowing against tomorrow's future television earnings is prudent?
Yeah, that's a question that will get a lot of different answers depending on who you're talking to.
Right.
I think there's two arguments, certainly. One argument being that right now you can't fall too behind in this athlete revenue share sort of era that we're in. And there's a lot of certainly Big 12 schools that need financial help to reach at least a decent level of revenue sharing with athletes and keeping up recruiting. So a cash infusion would be something that at least for 2, 3, 4 years will help you in that regard. However, the other argument is a pretty obvious one that you hear often when people talk about private capital, is that it's a temporary sort of fix, that you're going to have to pay back plus some over time. And so I think it just kind of depends on your situation. I don't think all Big 12 schools need the money, right? I don't think all of them, perhaps not even, three-fourths of them will take the money. Uh, so that'll be if this does get finalized, what will be an interesting part is how many of the schools will decide to go in and take the $30 million.
Ross, do you think this is something that could potentially at all be tied to whenever the next wave of conference realignment is? Like with all the Notre Dame talk and their disagreements with the way the ACC handled the college football playoff and promoting Miami. Like it feels like to me that we're on the edge of another wave of conference realignment. Does this in any way factor into that or vice versa?
Um, I don't I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that when you look at the gaps that are there among the conferences, specifically SEC, Big Ten, and others, there's a need for everybody. Like I mentioned, if you're going to take the capital, one of the big things is you're trying to close that gap. And Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioners, out to do things to try to close that gap. You can only do so much, I think. But whether it's new sponsorship dollars, right, or this capital infusion, trying to close that gap. And so, as close as you can get to that gap is important in this sort of era. So, I don't know. That certainly factors into the future and realignment is how close you are, how much you can close that gap. Because if you fall too far behind, uh, that would be a problem for the future and the future landscape, and that's what nobody wants to do. Certainly, is fall too far behind.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's probably a reason for, the need for this. To your point, like, every year you're falling further and further behind. That money compounds. The twice as much television revenue compounds every year. So I mean, you think about how far you could fall behind, with that every single year. There's a fear there for sure. I mean, Russ, do you think realignment is dead? Do give us a sense here of your thoughts on where realignment is?
Um, no, it's definitely not dead. It just a little bit maybe on pause. Realignment often usually based around new the new television deals that come open when television deals, conference television deals come open, and the Big 12 I think is 2030. Big 10 is either 30 or 31 as well. Um, the college football playoff television agreements 2031. It comes open 2031. The NCAA basketball tournament is 2032. So you see all these things that between 2030 and 32 they sort of start to come open, and usually that's an entryway into more realignment happening. Also during that stretch, the ACC, which settled with Florida State and Clemson over exit fees, the ACC exit fees drop under $100 million per school during that span. And so that's another thing that I think contributes to all of this. So realignment isn't going away. Maybe for another year or so, it's probably put on the shelf, but it'll crank back up probably a year or two ahead of that stretch. So 27, 28, it'll probably be cranking back up a little bit. And really, honestly, talks are already happening, right? I mean, just a very, very low level sort of chatter, I think it's kind of always happening. But you get real serious moves, I think, probably starting in 27, if I'm guessing.
Talking with Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports. He joins us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Ross, what's the latest on the college football playoff potentially expanding from 12 to 16, maybe as soon as next season? There's still a lot of hurdles. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, there's one there's one big hurdle. Basically, it's a Big Ten. Everybody else is on board with a 16 team playoff, five automatic qualifiers, and 11 at large. So it'd be the same format now. You just add four at large spots, and you'd have six first round games instead of four. Everybody would play. The playoff would probably could move up a week as well, give some flexibility. It might move the calendar up and have the games um, happen on Army Navy weekend some way instead of having them on a weekend where you're competing against the NFL. So uh, that's seems like most people in the room are in support of that 16 team model, the 5 plus 11. But the Big Ten wants a bigger playoff and they want a different sort of format. So they're been proposing a 24 team that provides automatic qualifiers for each of the four power conferences. And you remember back in the spring, the Big Ten's original proposal was four automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten and SEC and two for the ACC and Big 12. Now the proposal is four, 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 four. So everybody gets four, two G5 and six at large spots. This was a big playoff, obviously 24 teams. It would probably mean the elimination of the conference championship games. So there's just a lot, right? It would be a big change. And I don't think there's as many people on board with that format right now. Is that going to come in the future? Maybe. But right now, for next year and for the short term, I think that 16 teams is more the trend. It seems to be trending that way. The problem is the Big 12, Big 10, and SEC have to both agree, according to CFP memorandum of understanding all the leagues signed last year. They gave the power to the Big 10 and SEC to decide on future format, and they both have to agree. So right now, the Big 10 isn't agreeing. Will they agree over the next 6 weeks or so? Well, I guess we'll see. That's the timeline for any change that you're going to make next year to the format has to be done basically by the end of January.
We're talking with Ross Dellinger here from Yahoo Sports, also contributor for On3 Sports. Ross, I'm curious for your perspective on Kyle Whittingham. Obviously, this isn't a huge surprise given Morgan Scalley in 23 was named the head coach in waiting, but certainly still surprising. And here's a guy that's been extremely influential in the sport and obviously at the University of Utah.
Very. This has been an interesting sort of thing to watch over the last few years. Morgan Scalley named head coaching waiting years ago, sort of been waiting and waiting. A lot of those head coaching waitings often either don't materialize or when they do happen, they sort of just don't work out. So it'll be curious to see how this works out. I think a lot of people thought Kyle Whittingham, after a 5-7 season last year, was going to retire and cede to Morgan Scalley. That didn't happen, and then they go 10-2 this year. Based on the language used in Utah's press release, stepping down and not retiring. I'm not completely sure if Kyle Whittingham wanted to completely retire and stop coaching. But I think Utah was in an odd place because Morgan Scalley certainly had other jobs that he could have left for over the years and stayed for this head coaching job. And so I think there was probably some pressure there on Kyle Whittingham to sort of finally step aside and let Morgan kind of take over the program. And that's what happened.
Ross, who do you think Michigan's going to hire? Like, what does your gut tell you?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it's not a sitting Power Four conference head coach. I think that that's probably what they'd want, somebody accomplished at the Power Conference level, and bigger names. You heard the Kalen DeBoer stuff, and he came out on Sunday. Basically, DeBoer did, and said he's not interested in any other jobs, and he hasn't talked to anybody. I think other names you're hearing is Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, perhaps Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, all the names, Jed Fish at Washington, all the names that were in the mix for a lot of these other jobs this cycle. And I think it's same names you heard with Penn State and Florida and to a degree LSU, Auburn. So it's this kind of the same group, and I would expect probably it to come from that group.
Awesome. Good stuff. Ross Dellinger covers college football for Yahoo Sports and On3 Sports, joining us here on Big 12 today. Ross, thanks for hopping on with us on short notice. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be on.
Thanks so much, Ross. Take care.
Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, On3. Here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, we'll unpack that conversation coming up next. Circle back to some Big 12 basketball. That is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Back here on Big 12 Today, brought to you by Modelo, heard exclusively on TuneIn. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast channel. If you missed either of our guests so far, Ross Dellinger from Yahoo, Chancellor Johnson, the Big 12 analyst and content creator. You can go back and hear those wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify, right here on TuneIn, on demand, and a lot to unpack from what Ross shared with us. The Big 12 inking that private capital, not private equity, private capital deal that could bring as much as $500 million to this conference. And my main takeaway from what the Big 12 has done with this deal is not of desperation. To me, it's a deal of believing in the future of the Big 12 and the growth within this conference. And there's already been growth just the last couple of years, and this season in particular with Texas Tech and their rise. But, desperate leagues or teams sell equity, and the league, this shows me confidence that the league has with its member institutions, believing in them and borrowing against the future, knowing that the Big 12 is in a position to be able to pay all this back, whatever the league and the member institutions take.
Did you get an MBA? Did you go to a business school?
MBA in business, MBA, I got a BMA, I got it all.
Did you? I mean,
Totally.
because part of the reason I didn't was because I wanted to get into sports and not have to deal with any of this minutia. So, I
The
mean,
9.9% interest rate.
private equity, private capital, I don't give a bleep. Ultimately, I do believe this conference is set up very well for the future. And so, while I know others, namely Stephen Godfrey, who I listened to on the College Football Inquirer podcast, basically was like, I don't think this is a good idea because you're borrowing against tomorrow's future earnings. No. F that. I think the Big 12 is in good position from a future perspective. The Big 12 is best positioned more so than any other conference, and that includes the ACC for the future. And look, I do think the ACC is going to at some point collapse. I think you've got a very, very precarious setup here for the Atlantic Coast Conference, and that at some point it's going to splinter, and we're going to see some of those teams go to the Big 12, where the cohesion is what drives the Big 12 and its member institutions. So, yeah, I mean, again, not knowing the specifics and not having an MBA or even wanting particularly to understand the specifics of this, because again, I'm not in that industry for good reason. If I wanted to make a boatload of money and talk about derivatives, that's what I'd be doing. So, ultimately, I chose sports and much rather be talking about the stuff happening on the field. And again, I mean, it just goes back to I believe the future of this conference is very well suited and well positioned, as good as anybody else. There's a lot of cohesion and unity here that there isn't in other conferences. So I'll bet on that.
And I think essentially that's what we're betting on, right? Is that these teams on the field, Commissioner Yormark talks about let's let it play out on the field. Well, on the field, the Big 12 major uptick this year with 3 teams finishing in the top 15 of the college football playoff. Sure, we only got 1 team in, but that team has a bye and is locked into a quarterfinal matchup against somebody in Texas Tech. That's a baby step. That's an uptick on the field. And now there's 3 parts to this deal where there's going to be an injection directly into the Big 12 office. We know that. But then also Ross adds that it's essentially a line of credit for these schools. They don't have to access it if they don't need it, but if they want to, they can access up to $30 million, which is a nice chunk of change for these member institutions. I also thought the note about the college football playoff and the standstill that we are at there, with the Big Ten wanting one thing and everybody else being on board for the other, which is the way it is now. There's just 4 extra at-large bids. 5 conference champions, 4 extra at-large bids, the 5-11 model. Well, if you look at the 4 teams that would have been in this year, none of them are from the Big Ten. You've got Notre Dame, BYU, Texas, and Vanderbilt. Those would have been the 4 at-large teams that would have been added to this college football playoff field had it been expanded to 16. But the Big Ten says, no. We need 24 teams in the field moving forward.
Yeah, the Big Ten's like the crazy drunk uncle that you didn't want to engage in this discussion with at Christmas dinner, and yet here he is, and here you are, and it's like everybody's like, no. Uncle Frank, we all think this 12-team playoff should be expanded to 16 teams. Here's how it will look. And he's like, you know what I think? We should do 24 teams. That's what I think. It's like, nobody even brought this up. What? Like, how are you going from 12 to 24? You know what? Make it 32, and everybody gets a bid. You get a bid, and everybody gets a bid. It's like, ugh. Everybody else agrees here, Frank. What are we doing?
The Big Ten is Cousin Eddie.
I went with Uncle Frank, but yes, you got it.
I mean, that's what you're describing. You're
You
describing Cousin
picked up
Eddie
what I was laying down,
from Christmas
and
Vacation.
that's what makes us the best 1-2 punch in the country.
That there's an RV.
I'll have some of the yellow.
All right, some other national headlines in
But I
college.
mean, seriously, the Big Ten's Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Like, nobody, 24? Like, what? It's like, how about 32? Like, no, it's like the meme, like, nobody, Big Ten, 24.
Like, we just had 4. We just had 4 teams. And this year, the top 4 teams are pretty clear cut. Like, it would have worked for this year's college football playoffs.
It's like, Big Ten, put on a suit, and there's food all over your face. Like, you look ridiculous, Big Ten.
You look ridiculous.
You look, put on your suit. You've got a tuxedo shirt on, Big Ten, and there's all kinds of crumbs on your face. Like, you look ridiculous.
Get out of here with that nonsense. The Heisman.
Have you been drinking, Mr. Big Ten?
The Heisman. Fernando Mendoza wins the Heisman. Apparently, he had an epic awards acceptance speech. I watched like 20 seconds of it, and then I'd had enough. But Mendoza wins the Heisman. Diego Pavia was clubbing in New York City after the Heisman. What's your take on what happened there?
Yeah, I think Fernando Mendoza missed a huge opportunity to just punch Diego Pavia square in the face. Where was that the entire – man, does all of America now just want to fight Diego Pavia? Am I the only one?
No, I think everybody.
I'm not trying to incite violence here on I would say a kid. He's what, 24, 25?
I think he's 30.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty sure he's our age.
He acts 14, but he might be 30.
Yeah, so he went off the deep end here complaining about God knows what. I mean, has there been a more annoying voice in college football than Diego Pavia? Like, my God, I get it. You think you're so good and so incredible. And look, you have been good for a Vanderbilt program that was god-awful. To think that the 2 final Heisman finalists were from Vanderbilt and Indiana is absurd. But, like, I would argue you shouldn't have even been there. Jacob Rodriguez, and I can't wait for Texas Tech and Indiana to play in that semifinal matchup at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, if that's what we end up getting, because I believe we're going to get that. And Jacob Rodriguez is going to smack Fernando Mendoza for 4 quarters. Because he is going to use that slight of not even being invited to the Heisman ceremony to show just how much he thinks of Fernando Mendoza winning the Heisman.
Like, you won't like Texas Tech's defense when they're angry. And they're so connected that this isn't – Jacob Rodriguez will smack him in the mouth, and so will Lee Hunter and Romello Height and David Bailey and Ben Roberts, because they are so connected. Like, this just further fuels this Texas Tech defense.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the matchup.
Yeah, they're going to have Fernando Mendoza screaming uncle.
And by the way, if Jacob Rodriguez had been in New York instead of Diego Pavia, I mean, those guys are polar opposites. Like, Jacob Rodriguez is clean-cut, tremendous, like, life story. His
Has a wife
is in the armed forces.
Is an American hero.
Like, he looks straight off the set of Top Gun. He's got the mustache.
He's definitely a Top Gun 3, by the way.
For sure. I'm not so sure he wasn't in Top Gun 2. Was his dad in the original? Like, he is Top Gun City.
Yeah.
The latest Top Gun's a baller movie, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've seen it, right?
I mean, yeah.
I don't think you
So
have.
good with the flying.
I don't think you've seen
and
it.
the Tom Cruise, the flying
have
around.
I seen a major blockbuster hit that you haven't?
I mean, yeah.
This is a trust tree, okay?
Here's the thing about the new Top Gun movie.
You haven't seen it. There's just no way you can contain. This man has not seen the new Top Gun.
You're right, because I didn't want to I didn't want to pay to see it in theaters, and you had to only see it in theaters.
Pay to see it on your couch.
No, you can't.
Yes, you
that's
can.
A movie
That's
you gotta
how
see
I watched it.
Well, then you missed a big part of the movie.
I don't have to go to Cosm to see it. It's an 8.2 out of 10. It's a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I cannot even imagine how good that'd be on Cosm. I'd go see that on Cosm. I'm just not going to pay to see it. That's the problem.
Why can't you watch it at home?
Because you can't see a movie like that at home. You're missing half the movie.
What do you got a 32-inch TV? Like,
No,
come on, it's 2025.
Yeah, no, I have a 65.
Oh, 65.
Thank you.
Excuse me, the
mean,
king in his castle
Look,
with my 65-inch television.
It's still not big enough, by the way. I've told my wife that, and in reference to the TV, of course.
Because you live in a mansion?
No, because there's no. First of all, like, that's not even a thing. You could buy like an 85-inch TV right now for like $200. Okay, like
can't.
TVs are so cheap
What?
right now. They're like
80
a dime a dozen.
Just talking out of your head.
No, you
85-inch
100%
TV.
can.
I have to agree with Ari on that one. I have two buddies of mine who bought an 85-inch, and I have a 75, and I think my 75 is now too small.
It's too small.
What's wrong with you guys?
No, it depends on the technology you get. You can't get, like,
85-inch TV, I don't see anything for less than $500.
'cause you're looking on those expensive websites. You go to some of the cheaper websites, and
Where are
because
where are
you know
these
what?
dark web TV
Your
deals?
algorithm thinks that you're high maintenance and want an expense. So your
High
algorithm,
maintenance? My algorithm thinks I'm high maintenance.
it's only selling you a very expensive TV. If I look, an 85-inch will be cheap.
What are these like back alley websites that are you on Discord server chats? Like you're always talking about all these deals. I'm like, I don't know where you're
Discord
finding these.
server chats. You never sounded older, James. How old are you? This whole Facebook thing that these kids are on with their Discords and their chats.
You're on a Discord. You're in a Discord.
I'm at Discord right now.
Chatting away, trying to find the best deals on these 85-inch TVs.
James, if it makes you feel better, I do agree with you. You can watch movies from home. I think it's better
No.
personally.
Thank you,
Yeah.
My first job was at a movie theater.
Don't get me wrong. You can watch movies at home. You can't watch that movie at home because half of the movie is being in the movie theater to see it. And it's not like you're watching Top Gun for like the dialogue.
This is the lamest excuse I've ever heard. You can't. The movie's not going back to theaters. You need to watch Top Gun Maverick.
Look, it's
been out for 3 years.
Best possible way that I can tell you that I'm not going to waste my life watching garbage like that.
Wow.
Top Gun Maverick.
Unless you can assure me that
garbage?
Jacob Rodriguez is in the movie, I'm out. And for that reason, I'm out.
So this whole Jacob Rodriguez Top Gun parallel, you've just been dancing along with this entire time, and you've never seen the movie. You had me fooled. And then I got a taste. Something in your body language, it shifted. I could sense your energy that you haven't seen the movie, and now I'm hopping all over this.
You're a big-time energy sensor. I knew
Gotta
that.
see it.
You're a big-time energy
It's
sensor.
all about aura, manifesting things, bro.
Are you talking about that on your Discord server?
I listen to podcasts, all right? Okay, so who's most likely to win the Heisman from the Big 12 in 2026? Because coming into this year, it was Sawyer Robertson. It was Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt, like there were some odds makers that had him a top 4 Heisman candidate.
Which coming into the season
2025.
makes total sense. Both of those guys, right?
So who's the guy for next year?
Well, do you think the Big 12 has a Heisman candidate for 2026? Let me ask it a different way. If the Big 12 has a candidate for Heisman in 2026, are they currently on a Big 12 roster?
That's a good question because we don't know what Texas Tech could potentially do in the portal. We don't know what Utah could do in the portal with
Now you're getting what I'm putting down.
the dollars that they have.
Because that Texas Tech to me, so if there's a guy that could potentially win the Heisman that's on a roster right now in the Big 12, maybe Bear Bachmeier.
Okay.
If there's not, I would say it's the quarterback at Texas Tech, whoever it ends up being.
What about Devin Dampier?
Devin Dampier, good call. Yeah,
That was the first player that came to mind.
good call.
Like, he piles up stats. He does it with his arm and his legs. And if Utah takes another step forward and they get more weapons around him, I mean, they had, call them what they are, good, not great receivers. I don't want to completely destroy their receiving core, but they didn't have top-level elite receivers. If they go get an NFL, like a pro receiver, they've got Wayshawn Parker coming back. They're always good on the offensive line. I know they're losing like an all-American offensive line, but they're always good in the trenches. I could see Dampier.
If Devin Dampier is a Heisman candidate in 2026, they should build a statue of Morgan Scalley.
You think that much is going to change within Utah's staff, the way they operate? See, I don't think we're going to blink an eye.
It'll be the same exact carbon copy.
Morgan Scalley will coach the defense.
Just no, and I don't disagree with that. I'm just simply saying, like, man, if that's what happens in year one of Morgan Scalley, what an overwhelming success. I mean, there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be. I don't care how similar it is. They're different people. They're very similar, and they're going to run a similar system, and I have no doubt about that, but they're different human beings with different trains of thought, and Morgan Scalley has never been in that seat before.
See, and that seems to be the consensus, is that like there's going to be this major drop off at Utah.
I'm not suggesting
I know
there's going to be a
you're not
drop-off.
saying that, but I've seen that narrative. Whittingham's retired. That's the end of Utah football. I don't think they are going to miss a beat. Love Kyle Whittingham and everything he's done, and I think that's part of the reason he's stepping away at this time is he knows he can hand it off, and things just keep on cooking in Salt Lake.
If I were to make a bet, I would bet you that if the Big 12 has a Heisman candidate in 2026, that he's currently not on a Big 12 roster.
What if he is on a Big 12 roster, but he's on a different Big 12 roster next year?
Texas, you're saying Texas Tech's quarterback is going to come for the Big 12?
Could. Maybe.
Josh Hoover?
Hey, Chris Level had a little side note when we talked to him. This was a couple weeks ago. We had him on the show. And he kind of raised his eyebrows and said, yeah, they'll bring in a new quarterback next year, and he could be on a current Big 12 team. I think they know. I think they know.
Yeah.
I think they know at least who they're going to target.
I like that your antenna were up.
Oh, it's always up. Utah's schedule next year, by the way, they play Arkansas at home in Utah. Then they play Idaho and Utah State. Then their road games in the Big 12 are Arizona, Cincinnati, Colorado, Iowa State, and TCU. They get BYU at home. They get Houston at home. They get Kansas at home. And they get West Virginia at home. I don't see a lot of losses on Utah's schedule next year. I'm not sure I see any.
We're not even to January.
Well,
James.
Utah's 12-0.
You got Utah playing in the playoff next year. We're not even to January of 2026, and James has got Utah in the playoff next year.
Running the table. Utes are going to be fine. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo, here exclusively on TuneIn. We'll circle back to some college hoops and what took place over the weekend. We touched on Kansas, their big win in overtime. We touched on Arizona and their just throttling of Alabama. But some of the other teams, things didn't go so well. But should we panic or not panic? Coming up next, it's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Welcome back to Big 12 Today. All things all Big 12. The conversation continues, talking college basketball with R.A. Timken. I'm James Westling. We highlighted some of the good from the weekend on the hardwood with Arizona and having just a historic start to their season. That massive win for Kansas State at Creighton. And then, Kansas beats NC State in overtime. But the league took some L's. Arkansas beats Texas Tech over the weekend. High-scoring game. Texas Tech was ranked number 16, Arkansas number 17. This is a top 20 matchup. Grant McCaslin really took blame for the loss. Said he did not manage the final 10 minutes of that game like he should have.
Anytime you get an opportunity to compete against a team, and I think Arkansas is obviously a great team, you find ways to get better. I thought they were more competitive than we were late in the game. I thought I mismanaged the game the last 10 minutes. I didn't do a good enough job with our group, rotations-wise and defensively. We missed some opportunities to really be competitive in a way that I think will allow us to be great. And but they're a great team, and I thought they were more connected than we were late. And they obviously scored at a really high rate, and we didn't do a good enough job of making it difficult on them. But we'll get better from it. We got the right group of guys. We just need to get healthy and get back to practice.
Yeah, Texas Tech, they did not handle Arkansas in the second half on the inside. Like, it was Arkansas's big guy, Trevin Brazil, who scored 18 of his 24 for the game in the second half. And Texas Tech actually led 49-43 at one point before Arkansas flipped the script.
Arkansas had 26 free throws attempted. Texas Tech had 10. I don't think that discrepancy is officiating related. I think Arkansas was the more aggressive team down the stretch, getting the fouls called, than Texas Tech. And my concern with Tech is all of these games look similar from a box score perspective. JT Toppin, 30-11. Christian Anderson, 26-11 assists. I mean, those dudes are filling it up, but they need to get a third guy to become a major contributor, because it feels like every game they're so reliant on both Toppin and Christian Anderson, who are both absolute dudes, but they just need to get production outside of those guys. And yeah, the free throw discrepancy I thought was huge in this one.
And last year, I mean, they had those third and fourth guys. Elijah Hawkins at the point. Darian Williams was an all Big 12 type guy, and that's my concern as well. The big two in Toppin and Anderson, like that duo combined for 56 of their 86 points. These transfers,
and then you take into account the 11 assists, right? So add that into the point total, right?
That's every basket.
Pretty much every basket Christian Anderson or JT Toppin either made or assisted on.
Every basket.
Yeah.
I mean, even like a Kevin Overton, who was a glue guy for them last year. I think they're missing him. Lawan Watts and Tari Bryan and Donovan Atwell. Atwell's a sharpshooter, but he only got off 5 threes against a lengthy Arkansas team that just had a tremendous advantage in terms of height and length, and kind of willed their way to a victory. So that one stung. Elsewhere in the league, Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State. Cincinnati took one on the chin at Georgia, 84-65. Ohio State over West Virginia in a close one, 89-88. And Utah losing at home against Mississippi State, 82-74. Which game do you want to highlight next?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought West Virginia missed a huge opportunity in this game. I mean, they were in complete control, and they let it slip away at the end. Bruce Thornton had a go-ahead jumper with 3.6 seconds left in second overtime to give Ohio State the win. I mean, West Virginia was up by 16 at one point in this game, but Ohio State just kept shaving the lead down and tied it to 68, forced overtime, and then and then again they got the big shot at the end of the second overtime to win it. But yeah, I thought of all the losses, that was maybe the most disappointing because West Virginia really had it and let it slip away.
Arizona State won at Santa Clara, 82-79. Arizona State is quietly 9-2, and Santa Clara was 8-2 going into this game. One of the top mid-majors in the country. Like, there's a mid-major madness that puts out a poll every week, and Santa Clara is a top 5 mid-major. This was part of the Jack Jones Classic. So Santa Clara leads at halftime by 17.
And they were up by 19 at one point. And Bobby Hurley was ejected.
Yep. Bobby Hurley went bananas on the refs. It was like 4 years of frustration just came out on those Jack Jones Classic officials. This game was played in Henderson, Nevada, and he gets booted. Maurice Odom, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 4 steals. His energy, his defense really sparked the comeback. And Masamba Diop, 15 points and 9 rebounds, continues to fill up the stat sheet. What a win, though, for Arizona State. Like a very under-the-radar, difficult game, and your coach gets punted, and you come from 19 down. Anthony Pig Johnson had 15 points, 14 in the second half.
Yeah, and, I mean, I think Arizona State is good, right? I mean, they look like a team. You know, we've been trying to figure out who the surprise teams are in the Big 12. Arizona State looks like that major surprise team. Like, they look really good, but I guess we're not totally sure. I would say the one thing that is clear, like, this team's playing for its coach. I thought this game was a great example of that, where coach gets, thrown out of the game, and, like, they just played with their hair on fire following that. It was like sometimes coaches want to get themselves thrown out of a game to set an example to your team of, like, it's time to go. Like, now is the time. And I thought this was a great example of that. Like, this game was this great example of buying into what your coach is selling, which maybe wasn't the case for this team last year. And, not only that, but, playing like they did in the second half of this game with their hair on fire. It was fun to watch. And maybe one of the more impressive wins, though the box score wouldn't stand out about it, because it's like, oh, yeah, Arizona State beat Santa Clara. Of course they did. But I think it's one of those games that really stood out from the weekend.
Do you feel any differently about Oklahoma State after they suffered their first loss of the season? We had Coach Steve Lutz on late last week. I think did he join us Friday before the weekend? Maybe Thursday. And I gave them the kiss of death when I said, I think you'll beat Oklahoma by double figures. Oklahoma wins that game. Oklahoma State.
Yeah, by the way, now he's not going to come on the show because of that. So way to go. Way to run your mouth, James.
Totally. Yep. All talk. All talk. Sorry, Steve. We're nuts for Lutz.
I mean, Oklahoma hit 13 threes in this game. They shot a high percentage from three. I think with the pace and the style for which Oklahoma State plays, when you give up that many threes, it's really tough for them to win that way. And, yeah, I mean, so to answer your question, no, this is one of those games where, like, yeah, they just gave a bunch of threes. Like, they've got to figure out what they're going to do at the defensive end. Oklahoma State's ceiling is not going to be as high if they can't figure out the defensive end.
So I want to give you 5 teams, and let's see if we can kind of try to figure out some separation between these 5. All right, Arizona State.
Okay.
UCF.
Okay.
Colorado. Oklahoma State. And Kansas State. Those teams, their combined record is 42-9 so far this season. Who's the best of that bunch?
42-9?
42-9, their combined record.
But Kansas State has 4 of those 9 losses.
Yes, Kansas State is 7-4. Hey, big road win at Creighton.
So
Kansas
I love how you
State's
just threw K-State in there. Like, you had this
They're
group.
back in the chat.
You had this group in the middle that has very minimal losses, and then just let's throw a 4-loss team in there, too, to really heighten up that loss total.
You don't win at Creighton. If you win at Creighton, you get included in this bunch. All right? Very difficult non-conference schedule.
I feel bad for you.
Kansas State.
I feel really bad for you.
Wins over Mississippi State, by the way, who just won at Utah.
I feel bad for James. You're so ready to have your heart broken. I feel awful. Like, I can see it coming from a mile away. At least I'm more realistic on my team.
You don't think K-State can make the tournament? They're 7-4.
Sure, they can.
They need to go. Let's see. We're playing 18 league games. If they go 9-9 in league, I think they're in.
Yeah.
You go 8-10, might be in.
Let's just get a little bit further down the road before. I mean, I've kind of. I don't want to see you lose. I don't want to see you in your disappointment again, like we saw last year and like we saw the year before, even though we weren't doing the show together the year before.
What happened last year? K-State was the best team in the nation.
Yeah.
For a month.
Until they weren't.
In January.
Yeah.
They beat 4 top 25 teams.
They're
blowing them out.
Every time K-State took a 1 step forward, they took 4 giant steps back, it felt like. All right, to answer your question, you've got Arizona State, Colorado, UCF, K-State, and...
Yeah, I'll give you so Arizona State is 9-2. They're averaging like 81 points per game. UCF is 8-1. This is their best start of the Johnny Dawkins era ever. They've got a point guard, by the way, dishing out over 7 assists per game. Colorado is 9-1. Oklahoma State is 9-1. And then Kansas State. K-State.
7-4. Yeah, I mean, you could repeat that list again, and
like
I'd still lose my attention.
Ken Palm,
try to keep up. I to answer your question, I think that's clearly the third tier of the Big 12 right now. I think you've got BYU, Arizona, Iowa State, Houston. I think that's your top four. Then I think your second tier is probably Kansas and Texas Tech, to where they've taken on some losses here, but to good program. I mean, all of Texas Tech's losses are good. All of Kansas's losses are good. And then I think you have that third tier.
What about Baylor and TCU?
Yep.
Which tier are they in?
Probably. I mean, I'd probably put Baylor in tier 3 and maybe TCU in tier 4. They're kind of on that fringe. They have the New Orleans loss. They lost the Fighting Master P's. So I'm out on them, at least until they prove.
You're out because of what happened on November 3rd.
I don't care if it happened on January 3rd or on August 3rd. Like, you don't lose to New Orleans at home if you fancy yourself an actual legitimate Big 12 contender.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you've got this group right now that's like some are having surprise seasons, some are surprising the other way in K-State. And, at some point we're going to see a better, we're going to figure out what those teams are. But I'd say right now they're all tier 3.
Colorado.
I'm not going to get overly excited about any of these starts because I'm going to vet every one of those starts with, okay, who have you lost to?
Right. And like, you look at Colorado and UCF. Colorado, their loss is against Colorado State. Now, they have beaten Providence, and they've played one power, if you call it the Power 4 conference opponent in Washington. They beat Washington. Then you look at UCF. Now, UCF, they have a loss to Vanderbilt, but they have some quality wins. They won at Texas A&M. They beat Pitt, and that's it. That's it. Everybody else is non-power conference opponents. Oklahoma State has a win over Texas.
I mean, what do you want me to say here? Arizona State's the best. Get them to the Final Four. I think when I said earlier that I thought the Big 12, based on this weekend, would have 2 Final Four teams at least, I'm looking at the strength of the top. But there's the wild card of some of these other teams that maybe we aren't seeing much. Baylor's a good example of that. Baylor has I want to say top 25 Ken Palm offense right now. I think Arizona State could potentially be that mix, but there's just a lot we don't know about those teams at this point in time.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm confident that the Big 12 is going to have at least 2 Final Four teams because, like, you've got the 4 at the top right now that are, like, playing at another level. And by the way, I don't think we've seen some of those teams even play to their total capabilities. Kansas and Texas Tech are 2 teams, I think, too. I'd love to see Kansas shut down Darren Peterson for the rest of the season. Bye. Take your $3 million and go. I want to know which team I've got in the long haul. Yeah. This guy's not going to be there for the long haul. And long haul, I mean the rest of the season.
Yeah.
If I'm going to constantly have to guess if he's in and out of the lineup, like, I don't want that hanging over my team the entire year.
Yeah, that's got to mess with the players, chemistry, all those things.
Like, he's talented, super talented, top first, second pick. Fine, shut it down. You don't need to be playing for Kansas anymore.
And like when he's on the floor, other guys don't get shots. So when he's out there, it's like, okay, well, it's Peterson time. I'm Melvin Council, and I've got a career day. I've hit 9 threes, but Peterson's on the floor, so now I'm option number 2. Remember, the tournament expands this year. 76 teams get in the NCAA.
It's this year?
Yeah, it's this year. Dude, it's this year. It's right away.
Jeez, they were desperate for that cash grab.
Yeah, no,
Holy
it's right away,
hell.
man. It's right away. West Virginia would have been in last year. It's happening now. Big 12 today are all conference teams coming up next. We've done, quarterbacks. We've done running backs. Today we do wide receivers. I've got a dozen wide receivers on my all-league team. We'll see how many Ari has after the break. Before we chat with Steve Bartle, the Utah reporter for KSL Sports, coming up here in about 20 minutes. This is Big 12 Today, powered by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. Exclusively on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios. He's R.A. Timken on social at RE Sports, ARI Sports. I'm James Westling on social at James Westling. And Taman, our producers on social at
Taman T717.
Taman T_717.
Saying it that way for, 15, 20 years.
We got Anthony producing on the Big 12 Studios side, and he does great work for us. And we have sent him our all Big 12, our Big 12 Today all-conference teams. We've done quarterbacks and running backs, and today we do receivers. And I thought most teams run a 3 or 4 wide receiver set, so why wouldn't we pick multiple receivers for first, second, and third team? And Ari said, what did you say?
I don't understand. Now everybody gets a trophy. Every day he comes in like, how many are we picking? 3. There's 3.
We're picking 1 receiver for first team, 1 receiver for second team, and 1 receiver for third team.
Yeah, there 3 spots for all the positions. I get it. Like, they play 5 offensive linemen on the field. You don't get to pick 15 offensive linemen. We're not doing like, well, BYU's wide receivers number 1. Like, what?
We're going to pick 3 off. That doesn't even make sense. We're going to pick 3 offensive linemen. What is this, 8-man football? Last time, Air Force isn't in the league. 1 receiver. 4 tight ends.
How many trophies are you giving out, James? Man, this is ridiculous.
I want to give some love to the guys that maybe didn't get the credit they deserved this season.
Well, then play better. Produce more. I don't know what to tell you. Be on a better team.
Okay. All right.
How many do you have?
Well, I have 3 today now because that was the assignment.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't even get what you're arguing here, and trying to rationally argue that you should have 3 receivers for each one.
Yeah, I'm building a.
Well, then we do a 9-team,
a second
Big 12
team, and a third team
with 3 receivers each.
Yeah. 11 guys are on the field. I'm building my fantasy team.
James, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
This is not what?
Big Lebowski. Never mind.
Okay, got it. Okay,
can we get on with it?
Yeah.
There's 3 players.
Who's your
Can we just let's just set the record straight here. Every position group we're doing, there's 3 guys.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Who's your third team all league receiver?
You're like a communist. Everybody gets something, huh?
Who's your third team receiver?
All right, Caleb Douglas, Texas Tech wide receiver. And you could certainly put Josh Cameron in the mix in that spot, but I'm going to give it to Caleb Douglas because of team success. And because this is a guy that I think could have had a lot more production, but because he shared the catches with Reggie Virgil and Coy Aiken and Terrence Carter, like, you think about Caleb Douglas probably being penalized to the fact that there were so many good pass catchers that Texas Tech had, and that they had so great, so they were so good at the running, at running the football. So it's really a multifaceted offense where I think his production was stunted a bit by how good they were everywhere else. So again, Cameron had more yardage and more catches, but for me, Caleb Douglas made more of a greater impact on a team that needed a guy that could take the top off, and he certainly did that throughout the season. Caleb Douglas, my third team wide receiver for the Big 12.
Caleb Douglas has to be massive in the college football playoff. They are going to need his size and his length, and they're going to need a guy to take the top off of a defense for them to make a deep run. So I like the pick. All right, my third team, all Big 12 wide receiver. I go out to Cincinnati in a guy that you talk about a guy that did more with less, because Cincinnati did not throw the football much this season. In fact, they're bottom third in the league in passing attempts. But Cyrus Allen, the 5'11 senior wide receiver who transferred from Texas A&M to Cincinnati to help their passing game, led the Big 12 in receiving touchdowns with a dozen. He had 12 receiving touchdowns, averaged over 60 yards per game. He's from New Orleans. He had transfer stops at Louisiana Tech and then Texas A&M before landing in Cincinnati. And remember, Cincinnati couldn't throw the football at all early in the year against Nebraska, and then they just gradually got better. Those double-digit touchdowns really highlight his season. I mean, he was a guy that was a big play threat. He's not a big tight end type frame wide receiver that's just posting up in the red zone. Like, his touchdowns were explosive plays, and he's not the number one option in that offense. Joe Royer, their all-conference tight end, is look number one. Cyrus Allen was look number two, and he was incredibly consistent. He's a really sharp route runner, efficient in terms of his catch rate, and he had more touchdowns than a lot of Power 5 wide receivers, Power 4 I should say, and he had the most in the Big 12. That's why I highlight him as my third-team all-league wideout in the Big 12.
Yeah, where'd he go, though, at the end of the year?
Where did a lot of things go for Cincy at the end of the year?
Yeah. For my second-team wide receiver, I'm going with Houston wide receiver Amari Thomas. 59 receptions, 906 yards, and 10 touchdowns, averaging a 15.4 yards per attempt. Second in the conference in receiving yards, tied for the wide receiver lead in touchdowns with 10. So giving you both the volume and the finishing ability. And look, Houston did not have a great pass attack, but he was the dude within that pass attack. Big-time addition. When you think about what Houston's going to lose every year, it seems like in the portal, to add a guy like Amari Thomas who steps in and immediately becomes your go-to guy. Huge year. And he was obviously all coaches, first-team all Big 12 wide receiver. So shows you just how effective he was in terms of scaring the opposition, where coaches voted for him to be the top wideout in the Big 12. Amari Thomas, number two for me.
Yeah, another guy that had double-digit touchdowns, and he's a great story. He is still super young. Like, I don't even think he's 20 years old. And he played 2 seasons at UAB, but he enrolled early at UAB out of high school. He's from that area, decided to stay home, and he is blown up. So love that pick, Amari Thomas. My second team, all-league wide receiver, I go out to Provo. BYU's Parker Kingston, who coming into the year was known as kind of a gimmicky special teams elite return man, but could he do it as a receiver night in and night out? And again, an offense that didn't throw the ball a lot. He had 848 yards. He had 9 total touchdowns. He had 61 grabs, and when BYU needed him most, that's when he stepped up. He had 7 catches, 133 yards, and 2 scores at Iowa State, which was a marquee road win against an Iowa State team that went 8-4. Against UCF, that game was close at halftime. He had a receiving touchdown and a punt return touchdown, finished with a $126. Like, he had 4 games this year where he went over 100 yards, and they were the 4 games when BYU had to have something through the air. I just love his ability as an explosive play guy. He's very dangerous in space. He's also consistent as a chain mover, and he was one of the top receivers in the leagues statistically as well. So Parker Kingston is my second team all Big 12 wide receiver.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if this list and the statistics show you anything, it's how far the Big 12 has come as a league. Where the Big 12's, bread used to be buttered with the wide receiver position, with the skill positions. I mean, my first team, all-conference wide receiver, is the only wide receiver in the Big 12 to get over 1,000 yards receiving. Eric McAllister. I mean, pretty obvious pick here for first-team all-Big 12 wide receiver in my eyes because, I mean, he lapped the field with 1,121 yards. Again, the only receiver in the Big 12 with 1,000 yards receiving, 64 receptions. So, I mean, basically 5 receptions a game. Like, this is, what a league. Like, overnight it feels like suddenly the skill position is not the greatest aspect of Big 12 teams, and it's good because this is a league built on substance with good offensive and defensive lines at the top. But, man, does this say a lot about where the league is overall?
Yeah, my pick is McAllister as well. He had over 1,000 yards, as you noted, averaged over 93 yards per game, but the thing that stands out when I look at his numbers, 17.5 yards per catch. That's among the top most productive wide receiver yards per catch in the entire country. And a guy that caught 64 passes. Usually the more receptions you have, the lower your yards per catch. And he did both. He averaged over 20 yards per catch last year as the slot guy, and with TCU losing their top 2 wide receivers. I didn't know how he would handle that workload being the number 1 guy. And he showed early on in the year that he was very capable when he had the second most receiving yards in TCU history against SMU. 254 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns in that game. And again, a guy that had 5 100-yard efforts this season. He was a vertical threat. He could catch balls underneath. Had 6 games, I should say, where he went over 100 yards. Many explosive plays for TCU. And even when their passing game kind of disappeared down the stretch, Hoover didn't play his best. McAllister was still delivering consistent results, over 100 yards against BYU, over 100 yards against Cincinnati. He became their only weapon offensively towards the tail end of the season.
Yeah, and again, like the fact that only 1 wide receiver in the Big 12 had 1,000 yards and only 1 wide receiver in the Big 12 had 900 yards. I mean, think about that. How far has the league fallen from a skill position standpoint? And look, it was really good last year when you think about Tetsuo McMillan being a top 10 pick and Jack Bash being drafted. And I mean, there were some guys at the wide receiver position out of the Big 12 that got drafted. But what just a crazy year to think about where this conference was just historically and where they are today in terms of that skill position, wide receiver position. Again, only two receivers over 900 yards and only 1 over 1,000. It says a lot about the league. It's wild.
Even running backs, too. Like this year, there are 3 running backs in this league that have gone over 1,000 yards. Last year, there were 8.
Well, and, I don't want to diminish with Texas Tech because, far be it from me, I'm the Big 12 homer here, but they didn't play Texas Tech every week, right? Every team did not play Texas Tech every week.
Receivers last year, 7 went over 1,000 yards.
Wow.
This year, 1 so far with Eric McAllister. So we've done quarterbacks, we've done running backs, we've done receivers. Tomorrow, I guess we'll pick 3 offensive linemen. Do we do tight ends?
Sure.
We'll do tight ends this week as well.
We know how much you like to rank your tight ends.
I knew there'd be.
Well, you just said tight end like 15 times. You just kept putting it on a T for me. What was I supposed to do? Not take it?
You weren't paying attention. That's why I had to say tight end 17 times.
I was paying attention.
Steve Bartle, see if he pays attention. The Utah reporter for KSL Sports joins us next to talk all things Kyle Whittingham. What does the future look like for the Utes as we head west? This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. Streaming on your screen on Big 12 Studios. With Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. And anybody who uses hashtags like Taco Nights and Ball Knowledge in their Twitter bio is a friend of the program. So we welcome in Steve Bartle, who covers Utah for KSL Sports. Hey, Steve, what's up?
Fellas, how we doing Monday morning?
Man, we're good. How are things out there in Salt Lake with the Kyle Whittingham news? Just break it down. What happened? How did it transpire? And what does it look like for the future?
Yeah, obviously that's pretty significant here in the Wasatch Valley. Kyle Whittingham has been at the helm for 21 years. He's been with the program for 30 years. This is something though everybody has sort of been anticipating, right? This transition from Kyle Whittingham and transitioning to Morgan Scalley as the next head coach. There's still a level of shock and surprise that it actually happened, and I think it's certainly been interesting the last 48 hours, just kind of interacting with Utah fans and getting a feel for, their thoughts and feelings towards this whole thing. And I think it's a really interesting time. There's a lot of optimism and excitement about Morgan Scalley taking over as the head coach of Utah football, but I think there's, a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and other sentimental feelings towards Kyle Whittingham and what he meant to this Utah football program. When you talk about his tenure, I think his success really transformed the University of Utah as a whole, not just the football program, but as a whole. And it continues to go through an evolution as it's now, transitioning from somewhat of a commuter school to more of an on-campus university with growth potential that continues to expound as they just continue to put up housing units all over campus, and that's a direct result of in part to the success of the Utah football program and what it's meant to put the brand of University of Utah out there into the world. So his impact is so significant. The success that he's had, the culture that he's instilled in this program, those are standards that are going to be vital for Morgan Scalley to maintain moving forward as he starts his takeover. But I think with Kyle, I think even up to the decision, I still don't know that he's fully at terms with where he's at in his career and what retirement actually means. I think he's a guy that for as many times as he said, he's a lifer, he's not a lifer, and he doesn't want to coach until I think he said he doesn't want to coach until he's 65, and he's already 66. He certainly loves to do what he does, and that's coaching football. And so I think with him stepping down and not necessarily announcing his retirement now, I think he'll take some time to assess what he truly wants to do and move forward from there.
Why now?
I've talked to a lot of people, and I feel like they've the general feeling is that this is the best time to make this transition from Kyle to Morgan. With the outlook in 2026 looking fairly promising, it gives Morgan Scalley an opportunity to get off to a good start on his career. What was interesting, I was recording a podcast last night, and one of my co-hosts mentioned that Morgan is a year older than when Kyle took over 21 years ago.
Wow.
Morgan being 46 and Kyle taking over when he was 45. And I just think for Morgan, he's had a lot of opportunities to leave the program for other jobs, mostly defensive coordinator, but recently, I know that he's received interest in head coaching jobs, and for him, he wants to take that next step in his career. He wants to be the head coach, but he's so loyal to the university that he's stuck it out for. I think he was originally given the head coach in waiting tag, back in 2019, and was reassigned that tag in 2024, and I think for him it's the timing really sets him up well, and then for Kyle, I think for him and what this means, where he's stepping down, I think with the way that the game has evolved, and I say the game, but with the way that college athletics has evolved now with NIL and the need for resources and the need for your head coaches to be forward facing and interactive with important people outside of the program, and the time demands on head coaches nowadays. I feel like Utah wanted to transition to Morgan, who is obviously younger and a bit more engaging maybe than Kyle, and for Morgan, I think he's going to be really important as for the future of the program. So to get him in that role now, I think is really vital. And then obviously with Kyle being 66 and having coached for 21 years, he's had a lot of success. He's a legend, and that I just think that more than anything else is why this happened now.
Yeah, Steve, do you think, because you said something there, that Utah wanted to move forward with having Morgan Scalley be the head coach? So do you think this was more on Kyle Whittingham's terms, him stepping down, or do you think that in some ways he was kind of nudged or forced out?
Yeah, I think, I know, or at least I've been told, that Kyle, he was required to give a notification of, what he wanted to do. He was contractually obligated to give a written notice to the Utah Athletics of whether he wanted to retire or whether he wanted to return. And I know, or at least I've been told, that written notification was, him wanting to continue to coach. And like I said, I think he's still coming to terms with the thought of retirement. But at the very least, I know that he wanted to coach this Utah team for at least another year. But I think, as conversations continued over the last week or so, that they ultimately decided, I assume together, that this was the right time to hand it over to Morgan. Had Kyle come back, I'm sure that there probably would have been, certain stipulations. He probably would have needed to give up a year on his contract. He probably would have needed to split, head coaching duties officially with Morgan Scalley. But we'll never know exactly what obligations there would have been. But yeah, certainly, over the last week, I do feel that Kyle's, obviously this decision changed from what I've been told or been led to believe, what he wanted and what he let the program know back on December 5th.
Wow. Talking with Steve Bartle, who covers Utah for KSL Sports, talking about Kyle Whittingham and his departure from Utah. Utah just got this massive private equity deal. What do you think are some of the things, some changes that we'll see? People from the Big 12 that maybe aren't as tied to the Utah program and follow it as closely. Like, are there things that Utah will be doing with this money right away that we'll notice?
Yeah, I think the big thing is the private equity. This is a result of the new constraints, new demands that athletic programs are facing with the rev share bill, right? The $20 million that they now have to essentially, if you're not up to the max in your rev share, you're falling behind. And so this private equity deal will help address that. This will also, do a lot of other things beyond just, money for players. This is so much bigger than that. when you're talking about some of the things that Utah wants to do. There's stadium upgrades, stadium potential relocation of the basketball arena. There's a lot that the program could potentially do with this new capital that will help it going into the future. So this is so much more than just NIL and spending on money for players. There's a lot more to this, and I think it's really I think there are people in place at Utah that believe eventually this is going to turn into more of a professional model. Speaking of college athletics, and I think this is a big step in that direction and taking that next step in the continued evolution of college athletics. I think it's a move in that direction. So there's certainly a lot to break down in all of this, and we don't know a whole lot of the finer details of the deal just yet because the deal is still going to be finalized over the next little bit, but it is expected to be finalized in early 2026, and we'll know more then. But at the very least, this deal is to serve the bigger picture for the University of Utah more than anything else.
Good stuff. Steve Bartle from KSL Sports. A lot going on out in Salt Lake City in the world of Utah. Steve, we appreciate your time. Hope you can join us again soon.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, man. See ya. Steve Bartle covers Utah for KSL Sports on Twitter. X at Bartle KSL Sports is his handle, and told us right there just moments ago that Kyle Whittingham, he had to give notice to the athletic department. And in that notice, he said, I'd like to come back for next season and coach this football team, which I thought would be the case, considering they won 10 games. They have Devin Dampier, who still has eligibility, and Utah says, we kind of have other thoughts. And that's kind of how it all went down. I mean, that's pretty breaking to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's great information. And obviously, this is a guy that's very well connected to the program. And look, I mean, I think, we may never know the exact impetus for this in terms of timing, but in some ways, right, it's shocking because it's a shock to the system. We knew he was going to step down at some point, but it still feels like whatever it happens, it's shocking, especially because he's only 66, right? We see guys hang on for a long time. But, if Morgan Scalley is going to continually get opportunities to go elsewhere, whether it be for DC or other opportunities, at some point he's going to take them. So I think you've got to protect against that too. So, makes sense to me.
And Morgan Scalley is to Utah what Mike Gundy was to Oklahoma State, what Colin Klein is to Kansas State. I mean, he's a Utah lifer. He played at Utah from 01 to 04. He's in his mid-40s. He's 46. He's very much a player's coach, high energy, was an All-American and Mountain West Co-Defensive Player of the Year as a player. And then he's gone from a GA to coaching the secondary to the defensive coordinator. He's been the DC for a decade. I mean, for him to hang on to that position and turn down others that could have furthered his career, not just financially, but in terms of being the guy somewhere else, he's done his time.
Let me ask you something. Do they owe Morgan Scalley this?
I think you could make a case that, yeah. I mean,
what case are you making? Do they owe it to him? I'm asking you.
The fact that now we don't know this for a fact, but the fact that he turned down other jobs, other offers that probably a pay raise to stay at Utah and stay the course and help Kyle Whittingham have all the success that Utah's had as a DC over the last decade. I mean, owed's maybe a strong word, but I mean, I think he's earned it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think Utah owes him anything. And let me ask it a different way then.
Okay.
Kyle Whittingham is 66. So would you bet on more success over the next 5 years of Kyle Whittingham or 5 years of Morgan Scalley?
Ooh, that's a good question. Just looking at the way college football is headed.
And this is why I hate the coach in waiting piece. And I get it, but maybe they've rushed to the end based on what we just heard of a legendary career. that I would be more willing to bet on the next 5 years of Kyle Whittingham than I would on the next 5 years of Morgan Scalley.
Okay.
Now, maybe those 5 years of Morgan Scalley are better than the 5 years they could have gotten of Kyle Whittingham. But I'd rather bet on 5 years of Kyle Whittingham with what we've seen versus the unknown of Morgan Scalley.
Would you bet on Kyle Whittingham without Morgan Scalley?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. Yeah, because
he's done it. He's proven. I mean,
yeah,
you
and it's
know
not
what
just
you're
his.
getting.
I mean, it's Fred. You know, I mean, it's literally been Fred or Kyle Whittingham running this defense since 1979.
But I see the side of it's a younger man's game, the optimism. Morgan Scalley is a relentless recruiter, connects with the players, and then this massive cash injection. I see why the move was made if they were going to lose him. I mean, that's the trade-off. Is it worth losing him to somebody else or give him the job? But, yeah, that's a really fascinating layer that Kyle Whittingham wanted to come back next year. His written notice, which he has a hard deadline that had just hit early December, he says, I want to come back. Utah says, we think it's time, and then the negotiation begins. And now I see why Kyle Whittingham's like, I might still coach somewhere else. Wild stuff. All right, this is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. We are brought to you by our friends at Modelo. We are on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios, and we wrap it up next with the final whistle. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12. It is a different league. Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Taman Turner producing on the audio side and Anthony Smith on the video side. We are here exclusively on TuneIn and watched visually, where you can see Ari dance on Big 12 Studios. Things we learned today, Ari. You hate Darren Peterson. Utah's made a terrible move by forcing out Kyle Whittingham. And Melvin Council Jr. is the next MJ.
Yeah, I don't hate Darren Peterson. Let's not.
How dare you?
I just don't think he should be playing on the Kansas basketball team anymore.
The evidence suggests otherwise.
No, I'm fine with Darren Peterson. I'm excited to see what kind of an NBA career he has. I've seen enough of him with Kansas, and we don't need this hanging over. Kansas basketball doesn't need this hanging over their head the entire season. That's it. Nothing about hate. There's two things I think. I don't think Kelvin Sampson would have ever recruited Darren Peterson. Based on the conversation we've had about the players that he would recruit, I don't think he'd recruit Darren Peterson.
Melvin Council Jr.
Do you have to say anything else?
No, you don't. I think that sums it up. Melvin Council hit 9 threes against NC State. He had one game previously this season where he made more than one, and he made 2.
Well, and he was asked on the field of 68 last night, or a couple of nights ago. This was Saturday night, not Sunday night. Basically, like the most threes he'd ever hit in a game, and it was like 2. He said 2 or 3. So. Yeah, I mean, he's sort of been a get to the rim and score point guard in his career, and he's been able to do that. I mean, he has been easily the best acquisition for Kansas basketball. I mean, maybe since Remy Martin and the transfer portal. And Remy Martin did not have a good regular season in 2022. He had a dynamite postseason. But Melvin Council, what do we think of all of the names? I mean, you mentioned Ryland Griffin earlier in the show, and AJ Storr, and some of these guys that Kansas have brought in. And Melvin Council so far is the biggest name in terms of output so far. It's pretty remarkable. And again, like Darren Peterson, big-time player, big-time talent. He's going to be the first or second overall pick. Like, shut it down. You know, they're talking about him shutting it down now until the first of the year. Well, that's a few weeks away, and it's conference play. If I'm Kansas, I just don't need this hanging over my roster all year. Let's move forward with the guys that want to be there, that want to play. I'm sick and tired of hearing he wants to play. Well, then play. If you want to play, play. If you don't, then go. Bye. Take a $3 million and buy. Bye. We don't need you.
Yeah.
We need the guys that are pulling the same rope. It's that simple for me.
And the guys that are pulling that rope have shown that they can win. I mean, they beat Tennessee, just won at NC State. Like, those guys can win. One of my favorite exercises is to hit up College Basketball Reference and find out where guys that left schools from the Big 12, what they're doing at their next stop. Like, guys transfer out, and they're dead to me. AJ Storr, though, like you mentioned, like 6 points per game at KU. He's at Ole Miss now. He's averaging almost 14. He's shooting 45% from 3. He was 29% at KU. Ryland Griffin is balling out at Texas A&M. He had 19 last night, went 5 for 6 from deep. Sat the bench at KU. Like,
I feel attacked right now.
Figure it out. Oh no, I do it with K-State all the time.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was like, what's this?
Day-day games.
Suddenly we're you're looking at like, oh, let's look at the Big 12. Then you single out 2 Kansas guys. Like, oh, let's just look across the Big 12 and see how some of these other guys are doing, specifically Kansas, and how bad they are.
Day-day Ames at K-State started a bunch of games as a freshman. Highly touted 4-star kid out of Chicago. Thought he's the next Jacob Pullen. Started 16 games as a freshman. Showed like major flashes. Transfers out. Huge disappointment after Jerome Tang's second season. He's at Cal now, averaging almost 20 a night. 18.5 per game. Like, K-State could use him. You know, some of these guys go on and they're really good at their next stop, and it's like, if they had just stuck it out at our school, where would we be? At Houston, you can't do this exercise, though, because they've only had 4 guys transfer out during Kelvin Sampson's entire tenure with the Cougars. Who are you looking up? What are you doing?
No, I just was looking at the rundown.
And?
I see what you're doing now.
What am I doing?
There's nothing wrong with that. This is, I just didn't know if there was another direction you wanted to go with this segment.
No, it's just the final whistle.
Got it.
There's no direction.
So I apologize.
There's no direction.
I follow your lead.
It's the final whistle, and there's no direction. With that said, what can you tell me about the pyramids?
I mean, weren't they? What can you tell me about the pyramids?
Dude, I listen to podcasts.
You are so refined. You're basically like a miniature Buddha with fur.
I listen to podcasts when I drive. That's what I do.
Nobody
listens to more pods than me.
it's the meme nobody, and then it's a blank line, and then it says James. I'm smart because I listen to podcasts.
Dedicated podcast listener.
Okay, you know what? Let's give James a round of applause. Simple James
Thank you, Tim.
is learning some things.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
I'm proud of Simple James here. He's getting outside of his simple ways.
They don't make a podcast on how to get a new ID. If they did, I'd be dialed in because we got a long way to go there. But yeah, the pyramids. So I'm listening to this podcast, and it's all about,
So you drove since you've mentioned it, you drove to College Station listening to podcasts without a valid license.
Time out. I may or may not have been behind the wheel. Okay? And my license is no longer suspended because I paid my fees.
Where is it? Do you have it?
No, they haven't given me a hard copy, but if I got pulled over, they'd look it up and everything would be fine.
Okay, good.
Don't they give you a temporary copy?
I mean, yeah, I thought that maybe they would, Taman, but I don't have it.
No, and I'm not trying to call you out or get,
In the system, I am a legal driver behind the wheel.
Good to know, because you know me.
All that matters.
I'm Mr. Follow the Rules.
You're all about the law.
I'm basically a PhD in law following here,
Yes.
law-abiding citizen here, so just want to make sure everything's on the up and up. All right, so podcasts, and what is this, some sort of like a conspiracy theory podcast? What do we?
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, kind of, maybe a little bit. But I'm kind of into like these interesting topics that, what if this was something else? What if,
sure.
What
Yeah,
if this
totally.
didn't happen this way?
Who doesn't love that stuff?
Right. But I only like to listen to the ones where you've got like really, qualified, credible sources.
Of course. Yeah, who doesn't?
I mean, I don't listen to these UFO podcasts with non-credible people.
No, don't be ridiculous.
Only the credible ones. All right. So I'm listening to this podcast. They're talking about the pyramids.
Built by aliens, as we know.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Maybe it was an ancient civilization that got wiped out right before the Ice Age. Not sure. But bottom line is, how, and how many years, how are we just moving these giant stone blocks that are 40 to 80 tons? You tell me. Joints so tight that you can't slide a razor blade between them.
I mean, have you ever read the Old Testament?
Near perfect right angles and flat surfaces over huge distances. 2.3 million stone blocks. 2.3 million. Telling me we did that?
Well, who built it?
I'm not saying we didn't do that, but I'm saying we had to have some type of technology that goes beyond what we think these guys were using back then to build these things.
Yeah. Okay. I thought the Old Testament made it pretty cut and dried. Who built
That, okay, and
the pyramids? The Hebrews, the Israelites,
with
help from skilled laborers in Egypt. I don't know. Why are you putting me in the spot here?
Got to have some strong dudes.
It's the
40 to 80 tons.
Didn't they use camels to help build it? Like to move
camels?
Yeah, they used.
I love how you're acting like these are none of us have put more than 5 seconds of thought beyond hearing the story of Passover. I guess that's how they were built. Perfect. Don't need to see anything else. You're like,
Go ahead, Taman. Sorry to cut you off.
No, but didn't they use animals to help, move the whatever material they used to help build the pyramids?
I'm sure they did.
That's what they did.
I'm sure they did. That sounds right.
So what
does this have to do with Jerome
massive
Tang?
Technology?
He's building a pyramid in Manhattan, Kansas, led by P.J. Haggerty, who is the foundation.
What massive technology do you think they had that nobody in the world knows about?
I don't know. Maybe they had the technology. Maybe it got wiped out with some phenomenon. I don't know.
Okay,
right?
so
then there's scientists in Italy. This is fact. There are scientists in Italy who have discovered with this ground-penetrating radar essentially an entire city in Egypt that was like this massive underground complex. And they have found that inside of it, in this giant atrium, there's a 40-meter-long metallic tic-tac shaped object. Nobody knows what it is. We can't get down there because there's a lot of sediment and water and stuff, but it's in there. this giant 40-meter long, it's some type of metal that is very unfamiliar to us, object underground.
What are you doing?
Just talking, chatting.
Got it. Okay, so
What could it be?
You keep kind of just throwing some stuff out there, and it's
That's what I'm doing. I'm throwing
making
it
me a
out.
little bit uneasy.
I'm throwing it out
So
there.
just cut to the chase here,
I'm
James.
throwing it out there to see what sticks and see what you think.
I mean, it's been a while since I've mastered,
UFOs,
the history
aliens,
of Giza
advanced
and the
technology,
pyramids. I mean,
ancient civilizations.
so you're suggesting that aliens built the pyramids of Giza?
I'm not suggesting anything.
Okay, so what are you suggesting? You
I'm
threw
not
this topic out
suggesting
there.
I'm not suggesting
What is your
anything.
suggestion? What are you presupposing
I'm
here,
just
James?
saying what people maybe think.
Okay, so what do you think?
I don't know.
How can you say that this is what people think, but you won't tell us what you think?
Yeah, and you're not only that, but just throw away all biblical history here and just throw some aliens in it.
Because I don't want to do that, but there are things that could be, maybe conceived as a different way.
Aren't
A
some
lot of stuff going on.
This is so typical conspiracy theorist. I'm just gonna
throw it out there, but not explain it?
I don't want to come off as
This
a
is
kook.
what people are saying.
But if there's
This
kook
is other
podcasts-
people are saying it. I'm not saying it at all, but who knows?
I'm not a kook, but if there's a kook podcast, I'm all ears. Call me Dumbo.
So let's play this out, okay? Let's just say
What's this metallic object?
it appears that I don't know. You just explain what this is to me.
You're like
and
the-
why are these Italian scientists? Why not Egyptian scientists?
They know Egyptian scientists. It's all hush hush.
Aren't some
You're the
things-
ultimate UFO alien guy. You're
Right.
supposed to be my hype man for this.
Which that I'm on board with, but why haven't they come back? So thousands of years ago, they built the pyramids, and then suddenly, nope, we're done. This is all we wanted to do. We just wanted to build these pyramids so that thousands of years later, some nut guy can make a podcast.
I don't think
questioning
the aliens built the pyramids.
Okay.
I think that we just had maybe some really advanced technology that somehow got wiped out, and it's taken us a long time to get back to that.
James, can you
I don't know.
explain why the Nile River goes from south to north?
No, Taman, can you? I'm sure.
No, but some things just are the way they are.
Are you even sure that that's true? Do
No, not at all.
you even know what the Nile River is?
West, I'd be like, Taman, yeah. Okay, that checks out. You should start a podcast.
David's like, not only does it not go north-south, there's no such thing as the Nile River. I just made it up. Okay.
It doesn't exist. Anyways, so that was my weekend. Basketball and weird conspiracy theory podcasting.
So I just picture you driving
Oh, yeah, I'm so locked in.
late at night on a Sunday. Why would you be listening to podcasts relevant to this show on a Sunday night before our show? Yeah.
No.
Please.
I'm like, I know everything that happened in the Big 12. Let's dial up some aliens. Okay, let's go.
So
Pyramids.
What's the name of this podcast?
I don't remember. I listened to several. One of them was Joe Rogan's, and he had on the guy from Uncharted X.
Was Joe Rogan the guy that was talking about the aliens building the pyramids?
The guy from Uncharted X was the guy that was talking about it. He's been over there. He's seen them.
If that doesn't tell you
seen 'em.
everything we need to know about the Joe Rogan podcast, I don't know what will.
He's seen them. All right.
I'm just simply saying, if the aliens did this, then where have they been? They just were like, let me just drop these pyramids down here, and then thousands of years later, we'll never do anything else. Is that was the guy? What kind of a weird ploy was that? And, we're not even going to make it obvious that we did it. You know what I mean? Well, if you have the technology to do this, why aren't you we are your alien overlords. Praise us and love us. It's no. Instead, let's just build these pyramids and have people guessing how they got there for thousands of years.
At least sign your name.
Yeah.
Or something.
Carr was here.
Good show. Who?
I just try to make
All right.
some alien name.
Carr? It's a bold move. Says it had 2 R's.
With a Q, maybe.
Car.
I was hoping you just slide right over that.
Good show today. We had Chancellor Johnson on, Big 12 analyst and content creator. We had Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports, serious stuff, and Steve Bartle, the Utah reporter for KSL Sports. You can catch those anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, right here. Tune in on demand. We're back tomorrow for Ari Timken, for Taman Turner, for Anthony Smith, our Big 12 Studios producer. I'm James Westeling. Talk to you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. But for now, we're out.
Peace.